This is the Red Bull Rant podcast. If you aren't expecting adult language, why even bother listening? Welcome, my friends, to the show of friends. This is the Red Bull Rant podcast. I'm your host, Jason Ipico.
I'm Truman, and this is episode 478. We're just going to call it Just Not Enough.
479.
Oh,
my
479.
fault for not changing the text of the agenda.
Yeah. Well, anyway, both the episode number and the game, just not enough.
Who knew that I was going to end up making a perfect agenda for that title?
Yep.
Just not enough. Red Bulls with a 2-2 draw at home to Orlando in a game that they really should have won. Do you have the messages on Blue Sky or?
Yep. Got them. Just a couple of them. Our friend Jeremiah did say, and that, friends, is a bad draw. Some shocking performances on our side. Only Eli, Chupo, and Edelman can actually hold their head up after that. Orlando was the best opponent we faced so far, but we didn't show up near enough. And then our friend Chico said, even by MLS standards, they're playing some of the dumbest soccer I've ever seen from professionals. Sloppy, ugly, stupid passes into guys who are double covered, rushing on offense to get almost nothing done anyway. Brutal shot selection. They're playing fidgety and scared. He then replied to himself saying, this was a little overly negative in my opinion. They're not playing great, but they're doing enough to get points. Hopefully they'll round out their game quickly, though. So there you go.
All right. So let's get into our likes and dislikes. Truman, you go first. What did you dislike the most about this one?
Two goals that they kind of just let Orlando come right down and score. Really frustrating, not kind of getting in front of the players, giving them easy looks. I feel on both of those goals that Orlando scored. That you just can't allow those kind of things to happen at home. You can't allow good teams to get great looks on net because they got punished twice for it. I mean, that's just a losing recipe every single time. Frustrating. It could have been a better result from this team. But when you let that happen, these are the results.
Yeah, and I'm going to pile on with that. Specifically the second goal for me. Because that one was preventable.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, you could argue there was a really great shot, and that's tough
for sure.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The second goal, and it's the same exact shit that happened in Cincinnati. That goal happened because one player kept the attacker onside.
Yeah.
Difference, though, at least in Cincinnati, I think that defender had his back turned to the attacker. This time, Raheem Edwards had no fucking excuse for not seeing the offside trap and where he was in relation to it.
Right.
If he just takes a few steps forward, that's
probably
offside and that's no goal.
One big hop, one step, I feel, forward.
I didn't remember. But yeah, probably at least one step does it.
Right? Yeah.
And then all other things being equal, we win that game just based off the fact that one offside trap is played correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I know Raheem Edwards is young, right? He's not even 20 yet, but I feel like if you're getting starting roles, you have to be cognizant of that.
Right.
Especially as a wing midfielder slash wing back, whatever you want to call it. I guess wing back is technically what they're playing as. Right? And
yeah.
If you have to know your defensive assignment. Number one, should we do not let an attacker have an open run on goal?
Yep. Hey, like Jeremiah said, right? This is a bad draw because of plays like that.
And I think we also to the degree got bailed out with that penalty kick.
Yeah. Well, yes. I think we're about to hit our likes, right?
Yeah. So you can go first on the likes.
I mean, the good news was that it was a draw. It wasn't a loss. That they were able to come back 2 times and at least equalize, get out of their own building with a fucking point. But I think that was probably the highlight. And right, Choupo-Moting scoring on a penalty kick they reviewed that and gave it. Were you very surprised? Because I was very surprised.
I think live play, I thought it was a penalty kick, but when they started slowing it down, I'm like, this is iffy. I don't know if you can overturn this. And they did. I was like, you know what? I'll take it. Because my other team doesn't get that shit. So one of my teams needs to get them.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the good news was that Choupo-Moting got on the score sheet. And I think even on a penalty kick, it still means a lot to open his account for the season. And I don't know. Let's see if this gets him rolling.
I feel like he should have been rolling more in this match, but again, he's just unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say Cornell because I feel like without him, this is a 3-2 loss. Right, he had 1 or 2 saves that kept us in the game with the draw. So,
yep.
I think right now he's our team MVP. That's saying something.
Surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, right. He is by far probably the second most important player on that team besides Emil Forsberg.
See, at this point of the season, I'd even argue he's more important only because he's keeping us in games.
Well, I'm just saying in the overall scheme of things, obviously this year, yes, he has been the most important player right now.
Yeah, in the scheme of how this team wants to operate, Forsberg is more important. But yeah, he's the one keeping us in games, and that kind of matters when the other stuff's not working. All right, any afterthoughts on the scheme?
Maybe I'm not that mad that I wasn't sitting on my couch watching this at home, and then I kind of had to watch it on my phone while at work. So I don't know. I think I would have been kind of bummed watching this one from home.
At least we weren't there.
Yeah, that too.
That'd be worse.
That's true.
And I still don't understand the 2:30 start on Saturday when you have for the last 2 years been consistent about 7:30.
They wanted their afternoon game, the MLS afternoon game.
But there was multiple afternoon games.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not the one to make the decisions. So, All right. Prediction standings. I called a draw, but I did not get the score right, so I only got a point. So it's Truman's in first with 3. I'm in second with 2. Before we talk about the Toronto match, I got to talk about who we're going to be missing this week. I'm not going to talk about the injuries because that list is too fucking long.
That'll be a whole show.
The players that matter for international call-ups, and I say that because we have some like Red Bull 2 type players that are going to get called up, and that doesn't really matter for this game. Dennis Yangor called up by Norway's U21 team for a friendly against the Czech Republic. When I had it here, Curtis Ofori called up by Ghana for their the U20 national team, and then of course the big one, the guy I was just talking about being the most important player on this team. Omar Valencia called up by Panama, and I don't think he scored, but oh boy, did Panama get it to the U.S. So, and then Carlos Cornell, obviously, he's been called up by Paraguay for their World Cup qualifiers. That's the big one.
Yeah.
But real quick, the Panama thing. This was going to be dumping ground, but I think now it's good as time as any. Tonight, the night we're recording this, the U.S. got bounced out of the Nations League by by Panama. 1-0 on the 94th minute goal. Gotta love that.
Well, I mean, you could just straight up say that game being scoreless until the 94th minute. It's just that's a losing. You lost right there. You lost right there, where you couldn't score a goal that entire game.
And what a great introduction to the Pacino era. I can't say his name. But our new coach's era for competitive games.
Yep. I'd be madder, but I don't really watch any of these games. I just don't care until it's World Cup time. Once we get into the qualifying, then I get excited.
It's more the fact that this is going to affect how we play in the World Cup. So,
well, right, that is right, because that is a bad set of things to come.
All right. let's move on to the Toronto match. The Red Bulls hosting Toronto during the national break because MLS says fuck you to every team that's not into Miami.
Correct.
Saturday, March 22nd, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time start. Toronto comes into this game with a 0-1-3 record, 1 point on the year, -5 goal difference, last in the Eastern Conference. They drew their first game and then lost their next 3. So
they stink.
Not great for the team that has a lot of injuries and international call-ups to be playing. So Truman, you get to go first. What do you think is going to happen against Toronto?
Well, you hope the backup goalie's not going to see a lot of action in this game since Cardinal's out. But for fuck's sakes, I mean, dude, you're home against a god-awful Toronto team. You can't win this. You got to fucking win this game. You have to. I don't care who's in the fucking lineup at home against a shit team. You can't fucking draw again. You can't lose in this game. This has to be a win. Has to be a 2-0 win. You got to come out and dominate fucking Toronto. No excuses. I don't care who's not in the roster. You have to win this game, whoever you're throwing out there. If it's Choupo-Moting by himself, yes, he's probably going to have to do everything to win this. These guys have to get out, get these 3 points. You can't go back-to-back home games and not at least come out with 4. There's no excuses for that.
No, not at all. So I was looking up some other stuff because I just realized I was missing. Got those scenes. So what was the exact score?
2-0.
I feel like I need to call a draw because I don't know if I could trust them to beat Toronto, at least in this situation. If we had all of our players, maybe I'd say we definitely beat them. I don't know if I feel comfortable with this lineup going into Saturday. I'm going to say it's going to be another bad 2-2 draw.
Woof.
Yeah, I don't have confidence missing some of these players that we're going to pull it off, especially with the fact that our offense has been lackluster outside of one 20-minute stretch in our home opener.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside of that, we have 1 penalty kick goal and 1 open play goal. Granted, we've scored 4 at home and 0 on the road, but still, our offense is still anemic. And I know it's going to take time to gel, but facing a Toronto team that's hungry for its first win, it's almost like it's a classic trap game. So that's why I'm feeling a 2-2 draw right now. I don't want it to be.
I mean, sometimes teams just stink.
I wish I had that close to my fingertips, that sound effect. But I don't know. I'm hoping Toronto's just that bad and we can get through this game with a win. I'm hoping I'm wrong in this one. Okay. That's it for Toronto, right?
That is it for Toronto.
Okay. Next up, time for the F1 update.
And box now, box for hard. Stay out.
Fuck! Why not
Tire.
All right, so first of all, I did get halfway through the race. I stayed awake, which is amazing. I got halfway through considering there was like a 15-minute delay right off the fucking formation lap. I mean, this was you kind of like those rain races, right? Because it's absolute fucking chaos.
Yes.
The one thing is you're not really seeing what everybody's fully capable of, except for if his name is Max Verstappen, because that man is a wet weather driving machine, as we know. Getting second in this race was awesome. He probably wasn't going to get up. Piastri did not fucking spin out there.
Yeah.
But you don't know. But I mean, that just shows who can handle the rain and who can't. And Max is excellent in the rain conditions. 6 did not finishes. 4 rookies of them did not finish in this race. I mean, that was rough. Liam Lawson going out. yes, on a rainy day. Of course, everyone's getting a little fucking right about that, saying maybe Yuki should have had that seat. That argument's going to be had this season for sure. And I don't know about you, but yes, it's one race, but when you look at this race, how good does McLaren look this year?
I mean, literally, they were going to run away with that until the cautions and everything kicked in.
Yeah.
Because Gasher was, I think, like 15 seconds ahead before the safety car brought them back together. So
yeah. So, I mean, that is a huge concern. And again, like last year, if Liam Lawson cannot do his job as a quality number 2 guy, the team Red Bull is fucked. They just are, because Ferrari will be the better 1-2 punch. McLaren will clearly be a better 1-2 punch than they will be. So, again, one race in, rainy weather. They're in China this weekend, so maybe we'll get a dry race and we'll see what happens. But I don't know. It makes you a little nervous. Makes you a little bit nervous with Liam Lawson here.
yeah, it kind of does.
So I don't know what the other answer would have been besides Yuki. But we'll see. We're seeing it happens. But again, I think Max Verstappen is going to be in it no matter what. He is still an amazing driver. I think his driving makes up for maybe that they don't have the best car this year. I think McLaren definitely has the best car. But just his driving skills are excellent. Except for when he gets up close with somebody, then gets all crazy and wants to smash into him as hard as he can. But that being said, I look forward to this, another race, hopefully in dry weather, to really see what these teams are made of.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So New York Red Bulls 2, and this is what I was looking up because I believe I got to talk about the fact that they started playing last week. They have 2 matches under the belt: a 1-0 win against Atlanta United 2, a penalty kick loss to Philadelphia Union 2. 10 men in Philadelphia Union 2, by the way. So, hooray. Sunday, March 30th. So they're off for this weekend, but Sunday, March 30th, they'll be playing New York City FC 2 at home. They're currently 5th in, I guess, the Eastern Conference. This is called Group A for whatever reason, but I think it's the Eastern Conference. 4 points. Then Gotham FC has also started their season. They started last weekend. NWSL play started last weekend. I forgot about that. They tied their first game 1-1 at Seattle Reign. So they are currently 11th in the NWSL. And then they had that's a club friendly. I thought that was a CONCACAF Women's Cup. But this is weird because Gotham is now off until April 18th.
All righty.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm reading the schedule wrong. They're playing Sunday. It's what Google was showing it to me. For some reason.
Come on, man.
For some reason, Google likes to put the next 4 games up top, followed by the last 2 completed games. So it's just out of order. Weird. I'm sorry. So Gotham's home opener is actually Sunday at 5 p.m. where they will host the Orlando Pride. I think Orlando Pride was our defending champions. That would be a big one. I know Orlando was up there last year. I just don't remember if they won everything.
They should have a Sports Illustrated a stadium sleepover. You just sleep over after the Red Bulls game.
I mean, they're already doing the fireworks, right? So
yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. I guess if the Gotham FC game was like 12 or 1, that would make sense. I think it's a little more weird when it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else they're going to do. It's a big brunch.
But still, they got the club and all that stuff, right? So they got space to have people stay over.
Yeah.
They could turn the luxury suites into hotel rooms.
I love it.
Hey, Red Bull Marketing, hit us up. We got ideas.
Seriously.
All right. Now on to the dumping ground.
I'm the trash man.
All right. Kind of random, but the U.S. Open Cup has started. The Des Moines Menace, who currently has on their team Sasha Kleshchin, BWP, and Dax McCarty. I don't know if there's any other Red Bull players on there. That's just who I was able to quickly pick out from the photo I saw. They advanced in the U.S. Open Cup by beating Sporting Kansas City 2. I don't know who their next opponent is. But I just find it interesting that all three of them are back on a team together.
That's pretty funny. The Des Moines Menace.
All right, let's see if there's probably no schedule yet because there's games going on today. So we probably won't know the draw until like next week or something. Let's see if we can even find the game. Oh, New Jersey Alliance. I don't know who they are, but they unfortunately lost in penalty kicks.
Oh, that's a shame. Over there.
Motown FC, which I know is close by Sports Illustrated Stadium. They lost 1-0 to Westchester SC. I'm just going to read off things that make sense to me. Where are they? There it is. Yep. So they won 2-1 with Sasha Kleshun scoring both goals on penalty kicks.
Wow.
Actually, there might be more players than I thought. No, that's not a Red Bull player. Never mind. But yeah, so their formation had Bradley Phillips up top, Sasha Kleshun on the left wing, Dax McCarty left center mid. We also had Penny Feilhaber, Justin Miram, Anthony De La Garza, I can't see his name. Osvaldo Alonso played for Atlanta, Minnesota, and Seattle. And that's it as far as I can tell in terms of the big names.
They're the League Two Cosmos is what they are.
Hey, why not?
Right, loading up on legends.
Yeah.
In Des Moines, Iowa.
All right. Do you have anything else for Dumping Ground?
Yeah, I got something to say. I used to not quite understand why when like Roman Abramovich owned Chelsea, right, and Jose Mourinho was the manager, and they would just buy up all these players, and then they would set them on the bench for most of the games, and you'd wonder why they'd sign all these big guys, right? Well, they would sign big players, big names, big stars, and you never see them play. And I'm like, why would you sign all these guys not to play them? Well, now I know why. Because watching Liverpool play in that cup final against Newcastle, the stars were clearly gassed and they had absolutely no depth and they were absolutely embarrassed 2-1. They didn't score a goal till I think it was like the 94th minute of that game. In a cup final against Newcastle, who hadn't won a trophy in like 60 years, something ridiculous. And so it means bounced out of that in the final, bounced out early in the Open Cup, knocked out of Champions League. But you start to see these teams.
You mean FA Cup? You said Open Cup.
What'd I say? Open Cup? Sure, FA Cup. They probably get knocked out of the Open Cup too. But you're seeing what happens when you're trying to go for like multiple championships and you don't have big players on the bench, is that you're kind of sacrificing. They pretty much sacrificed the FA Cup. I don't think they even gave a shit that they lost that. Don't think they cared. Because they're like, well, we still have 3 titles we're going to. Well, now they're down to 1, which they probably still will win the Premiership. I mean, it'd be hard for them to blow it at this point. Nothing's impossible. It would be very difficult. But, you get excited to hope for your team wins multiple titles. But then, I mean, my God, that game against Newcastle was it was horrible. Newcastle had a goal called off due to VAR, someone being offside, and then they just scored again like 2 minutes later. Like, holy shit! And they just bad. And it was the same thing against the 2 games against PSG. They stole the win on the road, and then losing on penalties, not being able to score even an equalizer at home to make it a 2-1 aggregate score. So a little frustrating. I'm not too mad because winning the Premier League is probably the most important thing this team can do right now, and actually have a parade for their fans. Because last time they won was COVID, so there was no parade. But that's why. Right, that's why these big clubs that have $1 billion load up on stars, and that's why they do it, and that's how they win multiple titles in the same year.
Yep. Unfortunately, in a world where money buys you titles, it's the best way to do your business, right?
Yep. Speaking of, the Boston Celtics just sold for what, $6.3 billion or whatever it was today?
Jesus.
Yep. And actually, the guy who bought the team, I don't know his name because I don't really care that much, but apparently he's from the town right down the road from me in Georgetown, which is the next town south.
At least a somewhat local person then.
Yes, lifelong Celtics fan. The people like his going in with him, they're also like, I'm sure they're all fucking in some kind of crazy investors, but they're all like Celtics fans. So it's like the Steve Cohen buying the Mets, like an actual diehard fan buying the team.
If only the New York Jets could get somebody
They
that actually cares, have just been wanting to pose around professional athletes.
Woody Johnson is never gonna sell that team.
I know
Never.
he's not.
Like that the Johnson can own that team forever, and they will never be successful. It's just the way it is, right? Because those teams stink from the top down.
Yeah, the playoff appearances we had were because of what was built before he bought the team. And then it just went downhill since.
Yep. I mean, right? They haven't been in it since Mark Sanchez was their fucking quarterback, which is unbelievable. But again, it was just a couple years of playoffs. Couple years. That was it. But those teams, then the fucking Cleveland Browns, all these teams, the Cincinnati Reds that just suck year in and year out because it literally starts at the top. It starts at the owners. Now we're just ranting about the Jets, but that's okay.
All right, hold on. So I'm going to bring up a list because I heard this stat years ago, and I always thought it was kind of funny. At the time, it was a bunch of players. Mark Sanchez has 2 AFC title game appearances, equaling Josh Allen. and like a few years ago, he was eclipsing Josh Allen. I can't think of the Baltimore quarterback off the top of my head. Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
And like 1 or 2 others combined. It was just amazing that was even a possibility.
I know. Jets ruined his career too.
Mark Sanchez has as many title game appearances as Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe was in, 96.
The Patriots.
Yep.
And then technically he had an appearance. I don't know if it counts as an appearance, but he was on the Patriots when they went to the first Super Bowl with Brady.
Correct. In 2001, the 2001-2002 season.
Yeah. Although I think this is games played. So he must have went with the Bills once, right?
Bledsoe? No.
Yeah. And he had to have gone twice with the Patriots. Whatever it is. It's just funny that Sanchez has 2 AFC title game appearances, and he's eclipsing some other quarterbacks that should have more.
The guy that everyone shit on because he ran into a guy's butt.
Which, of course, happened after all that stuff. So, of
course.
All right. Is that it for Dumping Ground?
Yes.
So that takes us to the last segment of the show, Truman's Terrible Team of the Week.
That's terrible.
Again, kind of a weird one I'm going to give you, but it will go to Minnesota because they blew a 3-0 lead starting in the 68th minute against Sporting Kansas City. Yes, they were on the road, but they gave up goals in the 68th minute, and then they gave up an own goal in the 72nd, and then they gave up a goal in the 80th minute. 3-0 choke job. I mean, that is absolutely brutal. Aside from that, there wasn't a lot of big blowout wins over the weekend, honestly. So I thought that was kind of the best one, is choking away a 3-goal lead.
Yeah, that kind of would do it.
Yeah.
All right. So is that it? We're done?
That is it.
Okay. So you can visit us at patreon.com/Red Bull Rant. $1 a month gets you exclusive content whenever we decide to do it. I want to thank our producers, Jeremiah Dempster, Steven Santos, and Eddie Delecto. Thanks for supporting the show. You can email us, redbullrant@gmail.com. If you want to call us, leave us a voicemail, get your voice on the show, 973-348-5329. Facebook.com/Red Bull Rant. On Blue Sky at Red Bull Rant for the show, at Doc the Stooge for myself, at the Truman for Truman. Subscribe to our show via iTunes, YouTube Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. Last words before we get out of here.
Shout out to John Moxley for taking a bat full of nails to the back. That was something to behold. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. Aside from that, no fucking excuses. I don't care who's not on the team. You beat Toronto's brains in. Plain and simple, you fucking win.
Yep. If you're a good team, you beat the teams below you. That's how it works. All right. So for Truman and myself, this has been episode 479 of the Red Bull Rant. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, go Red Bull.
Bye-bye.